We're here with Dave Gibbons, the creator of such characters as Martha Washington, and well, you helped create The Watchmen and all sorts of other products and projects. So thanks a lot for meeting with us.
Nice to be here, thank you.
So, I'm sure that people want to come up to you and talk about Watchmen and all these other things that you've done in the past. I kind of want to talk about the present and maybe even a little bit of the future.
Okay.
Right now, you have projects going for Dark Horse. Is that correct? Dark Horse Presents?
That's great. Yeah, I've got a long history with Dark Horse, and they revived the Dark Horse Presents title, which I always loved. It's an anthology book. You get a mix of different stories, and a lot of really quite famous series have started off in there, like Hellboy, Sin City, for instance. Right. Mike Richardson, the publisher, asked me if I'd like to be in it, and I was working on a creator-owned story called Treatment. And so there are 12 pages of that. They're the first appearance in Dark Horse Presents.
And so, since you said it's an anthology, so is it broken up into pieces then, or is it just sort of a one-shot in Dark Horse Presents then?
Well, the thing that I've done for Dark Horse Presents, it's really a fragment of a bigger story. I just wanted to get the basic idea down and show an incident from it. It's not at the beginning of the story. It's kind of a quarter of the way through it or something. But I'm working on the bigger story, and when I've got that figured out, we'll announce the publishing plans for that. We're also, some friends of mine from England, we've got a company called Madefire, and we're looking into ways of telling stories on mobile devices, iPad and so on, and we're going to be using these characters and some others in some stories we're doing for those. So I'm really excited about that because it's a kind of new technology. We think we've got a really revolutionary new approach, and Treatment is the perfect thing to prototype on it.
Why is Treatment the perfect prototype for that?
Well, because there's a lot of action in it. There's a certain science fiction element which always works really well in illustrated media because you can extrapolate into areas outside of kind of everyday life. And I'd like to think they're engaging characters that people can relate to.
Now, is this something that you are writing and drawing, or is this just something you're drawing or just writing?
No, this is something that I've created and I'm writing and drawing. I've drawn lots of things that other people have written. Right. I've written lots of things that other people have drawn. I did a graphic novel called The Originals, which I wrote and drew myself. And I'd love to collaborate with people, but certain things you want to do the whole thing, and Treatment is one of those.
In a nutshell, can you give us just that quick 30-second what is Treatment, the promo for it, if you will?
Well, I'd kind of like to keep it a bit mysterious, but Treatment are like a private police force, and the twist is that what they do is on live TV. It's a reality show, so that's the basic premise of it.
Okay. Now, the other thing you talked about collaborating. It's been hinted that you and Mark Millar are doing something. Any information on that? I know you can't announce the name because that's tied up with licensing and all, but can you give us an idea of like the flavor of it?
Well, it's very difficult, because Mark and I wanted to announce this a long time ago, and for reasons that you've alluded to, we can't actually announce it, and I'd rather than sort of partially say, I'd rather wait until we can do it properly. All I would say to you is it's a thing that's set in the real world, and it's not what you call a superhero book. Okay. It's got lots of elements in it that people who like superheroes will like, but it's not quite what we're known for before, so it feels really fresh to me. I've always loved Mark's work. He wrote me a letter apparently when he was 16 years old saying, okay, you've done Watchmen, now you ought to work with a really good writer like me. Which is what 16-year-old boys do. Yeah. But apparently I wrote him a very gracious letter in reply and sent him a sketch. And now we've got to the point where we can work together. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
Fantastic. Any other projects you got on the burner right now?
Oh, well, let's think. As a friend of mine is a games developer. We're cooking up a new story again for the kind of handheld platform. And also I'm working on a project with some friends of mine who work in radio and movies, and it's, the buzzword nowadays is transmedia. Yep. It's a kind of transmedia idea. It's funny, the more I go on, the more I'm interested in creating properties that can be expanded into different areas rather than just strictly drawing things or strictly writing things. I've done a lot of that and I still enjoy it. but I kind of want to be more, have an overview of creative ideas these days.
All right, wonderful. And that's what you're here for. You're here with Smith Micro, is that correct? And that's something they work with? They help sort of bring stuff to life, is that it?
Sure. Well, Smith Micro have got some really interesting software, really competitively priced software which enables people to be creative. The product of theirs that I primarily use is called Manga Studio, which contains digital equivalents of all the tools we use in real life to draw comics. Lots of things that really simplify the act of drawing comics. It's obviously been developed by people who work day to day in comics. Lots of time-saving stuff, lots of digital tools that emulate real-world pens and brushes, and a really straightforward interface. I also use Poser, which is a software they do where you can pose human figures, which is very useful for reference, for anatomy and lighting and so on. So I'm very pleased to kind of spread the word to other people who do what I do, to say, this is a very useful tool.
So are you switching over primarily then to digital creation then with your work, or do you still work primarily with pen and ink and all?
Well, it's strange. I mean, it's very easy to get sort of seduced by computers and think this is the way that everything must be done. For certain things, the computer is the ideal tool. For the stuff we're producing for the handheld market, it's great just to be straight into digital. I like to use the right tool for the job. There's certain things that the digital tools do extremely well, other things that feel more natural using analog tools. So depending on what I'm doing, I've got a kind of hybrid workflow. Treatment, for instance, which is appearing in print in Dark Horse Presents, is entirely digital. I didn't use a sheet of paper in its production. And that was a really interesting exercise. To begin with, it was slower than doing it than natural. But once I got the workflow sorted out, it was very, very much quicker. So it's just really interesting. I've always been an enthusiast for new techniques, new tools, and I'm just thrilled about this stuff at the moment.
Well, I really appreciate you meeting with us, and we look forward to seeing Treatment and all your other projects coming up.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.